Hello there, you're watching and listening to another Scoutcast on www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, and my name is Mark.
And my name's Jonty.
Good evening, Jonty.
Good evening.
I feel like I'm missing an arm or something.
We are.
There's no Granville, is there? We've been waiting patiently for him to turn up. He said this afternoon he was good for this, and at the moment he's out canvassing. I reckon he's walking the streets trying to drum up votes. Basically, he's a political animal at the moment, John. I tell you,
he's very excited about the election, and I suspect that's where we could have. I mean, it would have been a bit cruel to do, but we could have empty chaired him.
We could have done.
And we could have beamed over to an empty chair, as they were threatening to do with David Cameron in the British elections. But no, so he's not here. So
he may yet turn up. We've sent the invite out, so he could
turn up.
He could come crashing in at any moment and ruin everything. But in his absence, we'll carry on regardless.
Yes.
We didn't have time to get a third guest, so apologies for that. So you just have to make do with Jonty and myself. But we'll do our best to fill the void, the vast void left by Granville. So Jonty, yes, we'll talk about the game week. We're going to look at Rufford the Smooth. I guarantee that you've got some tales with Rufford the Smooth this week, haven't you?
We have, yeah. We got those coming up. We got some great questions from the community as well, and we also, if there's anyone with anything to say during the Scoutcast, any questions as well, they can get us via either by Twitter, which is FFScout, or by the website, which is fantasyfootballscout.co.uk, or the handy comment section on the YouTube channel on this very broadcast. Indeed.
So we're going to go through the community questions. We've got loads in the bank to go through. No Granville to help us, but we'll do our best. Then we're going to look at all the board, look at the transfers in and out so far this week, and we'll do the weekend preview. Jonty, are you up for doing the clean sheets in Granville's absence?
I think yeah. I think we can muddle through them. I think we can get them fine. Yeah.
Marvellous. Let's crack on. Let's do our best. So, first of all, the game week. I mean, we were going to talk about Granville's game because Granville played the wild card last week, of course.
He did, and he had. Shamefully, though, I was quite disappointed. So we talk about Granville's week. I was quite disappointed. I was saying to you earlier before we went on air. I really liked the narrative of the late wildcarders. I thought it was just that those that wildcarded for the previous week's double game week and who, like Granville, did really well, and they got 20 to 30 points on those mere mortals like us without a wild card. And I like that. Patience, it paid off, and I thought that was great. And then, bang, in comes the next game week. Granville's 20 or so point advantage, totally wiped out with a pretty abysmal game week.
47 points he got, which is one of the lowest scores in the Conference League.
Yes.
And his main issue was he just went for the wrong Liverpool player, didn't he? He got Henderson and Skirtling.
Yeah.
So avoided Coutinho. He went with Sterling, who's just been dreadful over the double game week, and he was dreadful against QPR as well.
Yeah.
And Coutinho, who looked like he was going to produce that double game, he was easily Liverpool's best player at West Brom and Hull. And he did the business against QPR with a goal and assist. And he missed. That was the difference, really. 47 points. If he'd got Coutinho's points instead of Henderson, he'd been fine. That's what got me through. I got 60. What did I get? 63, which is pretty decent score. Mane at last. I mean, all the patience that I kept faith in Mane, and I played 3-5-2. And in the end, I don't like playing that formation, but I looked at it and thought, well, I don't think Nugent's going to play. I don't want to play 4 at the back, so I'll play Mane. He's got a decent fixture, and Mane has been playing like Coutinho. Has been playing well, but just not getting any points for it.
Yeah. And
he got gifted a goal by Pantilimon.
I mean, Southampton have been constantly attacking, and we've seen Pele getting the odd goal now. I mean, they still suffer. They're not. I think a lot of people on the in the fantasy football scout community were a little overawed by them after their game week 38 as game week 8 heroics, where a lot of their players did well. I mean, they're not a Premier League side. They're not a top 4 Premier League side. They're darn close, but they're not. So they're players like Mane. Mane's not a Hazard. He's not a Sanchez, but he's really good value. And yeah, I mean, he's been putting in the effort. He's been putting in the legwork. I've always thought the problem with him is that he's one of those players that runs and the final product is not quite great. He just hasn't got that kind of that top level standard. But I think it's great. We were talking about before we started about about patience and talking about the patience of late wildcarders, and those that kept Mane, once again, patience rewarded. So that was good. But
I do say that Koeman's not playing him in the right role. I mean, he's a number 10. So I've read a lot about Southampton fans and Mane. They say he's a number 10, but he's being played out wide, and I think he played out wide again at Sunderland. Of course, ironically, this week just gone were the reverse fixtures of game week 8 when Southampton put those goals past Sunderland, and Pella and Tadic got all those points, and when Aguero got his goals against Spurs. And so I only realised that after the event, after the deadline. I was like, the irony of this, that, look at Southampton now, where, back then they got all those points, and now I'm thanking my lucky stars for a Mane goal that was gifted to him. It has changed a lot, and for one reason or another, Southampton aren't the force they were at the start of the season.
But, this week, talking about Liverpool midfielders, I got 67 this week. Say a player that you mentioned, Coutinho, saved me as well. That 13 points, he was the correct Liverpool midfielder to get. I think that was obvious for a few weeks ago. Really, he was always he was always there or thereabouts getting a goal. But the other player, obviously mentioned, it's on my screen at the moment, Ramsey. Now this is where
someone you've not mentioned for
someone I mentioned regularly.
42 minutes.
I had someone on the site today, Fiona B, was saying to me, I hope I'm going to publicly apologise to her for telling everyone to get Remy in 3 weeks ago, which I was saying Remy was a good. This was when we thought he was actually going to play and had legs.
Yeah, we didn't know he was injured, did we?
So I said I will apologise if you admit that you also got Ramsey in after I told you to get him many weeks ago, and she said touche. So put an end to that. So, but yes, Ramsey, who's obviously the right Arsenal midfield, I would say that at the moment. But every week he's putting in those performances, he's getting those goals and those assists, and he's putting in Hazard-like consistency at the moment.
He is the informed midfielder. It's annoying because you were spot on when last week we discussed about do I save my transfers or do I wait for more information about what Wenger's going to do with his lineup and see if anyone. And I to be honest though, I couldn't have done two Arsenal players in for 2 Chelsea or 2 Liverpool. I need to make 3 transfers if I'm going to get Sanchez. I could get Ramsey and Giroud. I could have done that, but I don't know. So I look back at it now, and in hindsight, obviously wonderful thing. I should have maybe made those trades and got an Arsenal player in. I probably would have got Ozil or someone like that, or who got nothing out of the game. So it's just so difficult. Ramsey, I've got to give it to you. Does look impressive, and it's the injury knock is a bit of a concern. I mean, you worried about that?
No, I'm not worried about it because it sounds like it's a massive bruise. It says he's got a bump from a kick.
Bit of a graze.
So it's not he got a kick and we're worried about his bones, or he got a kick and it's like killed one of his muscles or something. It's not that kind of hamstring, those kind of nervous weight type injuries. It's basically a whacking great bruise. So that indicates to me that if he's in any way a doubt for this weekend, he's a doubt for this weekend, and that's it. That bruise will go down in time for the double. But yeah, there's so many options with Arsenal. I think it's. There's those who've got Sanchez. Going back to Granville's side, what did he do wrong with his wild card? We can say this without him here, and I'm sure he'd agree. He didn't do what a lot of the other wild carders did. Is they had an Arsenal player, or even 2 Arsenal players on the bench during the double game week where they had a blank. So these types of players are suddenly this week say, right, well, this is fine. I'll just bring Sanchez or Giroud or Ramsey off the bench. So those who had Giroud in safekeeping, it didn't work out. I transferred in Giroud this week. It didn't work out this week. His stats are a little worrying, so maybe that is a wrong move.
He was nowhere in that game last night.
He's nowhere, but I've seen that with Giroud before. He does that before. This is why he should have the reputation of a really top striker, but people, call him all sorts of names, all sorts of swear words at him, because he does this. And then I've seen this before, and then he will come back and often it's criticism that riles him. I think he's quite he seems to have that personality where if Wenger says something like, "Oh, I don't think he's performing as well as he should," that's like a red rag to a bull. I mean, perhaps one of the best things could happen if he's benched, a bench Giroud, and then unleash him in the 60th minute. I'd be happy with that.
I'm not so sure. I mean, there's other Arsenal assets we have to talk about, and there's some questions.
Yes, we will do. Yeah.
So we'll touch on that in a minute. Let's roll out rough of the smooth now. We've spoken about our game weeks.
Yes.
What's been going on out there in the community? Any sufferers out there?
Yeah. So let's start with some of the roughs. So right, JK, he did exactly what we warned against. He decided not to get Sanchez and Ramsey, so he kept Fabregas and Sterling. They obviously did
same here. I feel for you. I feel for you, JK. Exactly what I did.
Start with that one because so many would have done that. 5,000 place drop. Lead cut in his mini league as well. He should have made that move. He knows that. Right, Moyne. He did make the move. He got the wrong move though. He brought Giroud in. Not only did he do that, he captained him. So all the other. So that's bad because a lot of people like you captained Hazard, I believe.
Granville's turned up. Keep going though, Jonty. Let's pretend he's not there. Evening, Granville. Speak to you in a minute.
Hang on.
We started without you.
Yeah, we started without you, but we're just doing rough of the smooth.
I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Okay, yeah. Go and shut the cat out.
So yes, no. Talk about captaincy. So I captained Aguero. You captained Hazard. Okay, that wasn't the greatest, but you got 12 points. I got 16. There's lots like that. They would have been the popular. So by captaining Giroud, he lost out on a fair few points there. So who else we got? We got So Closer. He played. Oh my God. This is one of those. This is an indication of benching the wrong players, and this was a surprise week for a lot of people. My Hill in particular.
Okay. So who did he play over My Hill?
So he Mignolet, Koscielny, Henderson, and Sterling, all in his side. Those that he benched: My Hill, Schlupp, and Albrighton. So that's
a big bench.
He stopped counting at 30, but it's more than 30. So there we go.
That's very rough indeed. Can we have some smooth to counter that?
Let's go for some smooth. So let's go with Johnny here. This is a great move. So he sold Fabregas for Sanchez. Not only did he do that, he captained as well.
Yeah.
So he captained the week's highest scoring player. And he's got a great player in as well. He moved from 39,000 to 22,000. And he cut the lead of his mini league leader. This is looked like if you 62 points behind your mini league leader, you think that's the end of it. With 3 or 4 game weeks, he's got it to 18 points now. That lead, so he could win his mini league all from that one move. That's what the rough with the smooths here. The Kolarov love.
Hello.
He loves Kolarov.
Go on.
And he's moved out Fabregas and Remy. And he got in Benteke and Ramsey, and he's got an exclamation mark after Ramsey, so that's good. But Benteke as well, what a great move. So he's gone up a couple of thousand as well. And once again, this is great with the mini leagues as well. They're really hotting up. So he's just 20 points behind his leader now in the mini league. So yeah, pretty good on him. So we've got Dicky.
I mean, to get Benteke in when everyone was looking at Giroud, is a strong move. But as we'll see in a moment when we go to all aboard, Benteke, very, very real option indeed, isn't he? I mean,
that's just based on single week players are going to outscore the double game week players probably. I've got a couple more people who've had smooth weeks. So this back to My Hill again. This is great. Dicky 2014. Total fluke. He admits it. He had Brad Guzan in goal, who was dropped. And guess who his substitute goalie was? Yeah, that's right.
That is incredibly fortunate.
He didn't actually see the teams. He didn't know he got those points until he saw.
So he didn't know given started.
He did 1970s likely lads, and he didn't know until he watched Match of the Day that night. And then he saw the team sheets line up there, and he was like, "Oh wow!"
So hold on. So are you meant to believe that he didn't log in and see his score before match of the day?
Well, maybe he did. Maybe he did. So we don't know. We've got no one to clarify that. But it's possible because before we went on air, we were talking. I was at a gig last night in Bristol, and I didn't see any of the scores. I didn't see my wonderful Ramsey points until I got home after a drive home from there. So
I don't know how you do that. Unless I've got zero reception. I'm
a big fan of the band Bell and Sebastian I was seeing, and they were so enthralling. But they at that moment they were more pleasurable than an Aaron Ramsey goal.
Right.
But
okay.
Most people at a gig have got their phones out anyway, taking photos. You could just have your text up and have a quick cheeky look.
Yeah.
No.
And
Granville, let's welcome you officially to the Scoutcast. Yeah, we can hear you.
I noticed Jonty's talking about Ramsey again.
Yes, I love definitely. You didn't get him
talking about Ramsey this whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Granville, I can't tell lie. We have been talking about your team. I don't know if you wanted to add anything. We were saying that you had a
ground.
I was quite sad that you had all those wonderful points that you got from your wild card that were lost the following week. And I didn't, and I mean this genuinely. I liked the narrative of the patience paying off with the late wild carders. So I was quite sad to see that. But I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Not really. I mean, we were let down by Liverpool and I guess Chelsea players. So the players that we expected to do okay didn't. The lesser players did better. But just it's just not really having. I mean, you probably needed an Arsenal player last night. Might not have got the right one though, because it's the same old thing that if you have Ozil, then Ramsey scores. If you have Sanchez, then Giroud scores. So it wasn't. I didn't necessarily miss out on any points. But it's really disappointing that the player, because when we looked at it, it was kind of the double game week plus the week after. Liverpool home to QPR, you'd expect them to do better, and Chelsea had a home game too. So, what can I do? I didn't have. I think it's having a play like Coutinho instead of who did I have, Henderson. That kind of thing makes a difference, but it's a lottery. I don't think there was anything between. Sterling looked the best out of the three, I think. I didn't see any difference between Henderson and Coutinho. I just thought it was a toss-up, and I was wanting to have Skirtle.
Also, Granville,
You've gone.
Nope.
You went Hoof over Morgan, though, Granville.
Oh yeah.
That must have been a close call, surely.
I guess it was. I just thought it's just one of those things. You think you're being a bit clever, but that went wrong as well.
Yeah,
so,
you're just unfortunate though. With Henderson and Hoof, a bit unfortunate with that. And
and Henderson. I mean, Sterling missed an absolute sitter, didn't he? From Henderson.
Which match?
It was 6 yards out. Yeah, he should have been scoring
against
QPR.
But it's in such bad form that maybe it's just foolish getting him. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you think, because you both got him, didn't you?
I think it's fair enough. I think the whole world looked at him when Sterling was the most explosive option on offer.
I mean,
and that's why he was so tempting.
For me, I thought Coutinho was, and that's why I got him. But I said when I got Sterling in, and I said I admitted I didn't want to get Sterling. I got him in. It was purely a kind of a gamesmanship thing. I knew that about a quarter of the top 10,000 would get him in. I knew that there was probably 1 in 10 that would captain him. So if Sterling did go crazy that double game week, without being on a wild card, it'd have been curtains for me. So I got him in. But it was Coutinho was the one that impresses me the most. He's the one that beats the most.
I don't buy that at all, John. Sorry.
I know you said it.
In what universe is Coutinho explosive? I mean, he's had a couple of good games, but he's been really inconsistent the whole season.
No, I don't necessarily mean explosive in terms of those FPL points, but in terms of watching Liverpool play, he's at the centre of all the attacking moves. You think if there's a player each week who each week is got that potential to go. It's all about potential, really. And the thing about Liverpool is that as a team, they've folded as an attacking unit. So Coutinho, I think, has still been playing marvellously. I think he's fantastic. Because Sterling, I don't think has been as impressive, and he's not a striker. He's not a quality.
Well, that's the thing, you know. He is effectively playing out of position.
Yeah. Yes, that's it. He's not been playing.
But at the same time, you know, you expect him to score from, you know, a few yards out.
Yeah.
And Liverpool actually against QPR pretty much dominated from the start, but they just didn't create enough, I don't think. And when they did, they failed.
The thing is, Jonty, the fact that you got Sterling because you were worried about having that insurance, that's the same thing. We looked at Sterling and went, he's the most explosive Liverpool option. And whereas we put a bit more stock in getting him, you still felt you had to get him just in case. That's because of the three players, Henderson, Coutinho and Sterling. Sterling was the one who probably was more likely to go and get 20 points. I do think Coutinho is the better player and the one in form, but I think you have to have Sterling as a safety net, and it hasn't paid off. I mean, the problem was if you just you went Henderson over Coutinho, because that was a budget thing, I guess. But anyway, let's move on. Let's look at transfers in and out, and look at bringing some community questions at this point as well. So, you know, it's quite interesting. We were talking about Benteke earlier. One of the guys out there who bought him in. Now, people are buying him, not surprisingly, off the back of his brace, bringing him in 63,000 transfers in, almost double more transfers than any other player out there. I guess we have to consider, and everyone's gearing up for Game Week 37.
Well, yeah.
Are you both looking at Benteke as well?
I would potentially. I would like to. I just have other moves to make. But I just wanted to bring a community question. It's from RVP FC. So he's thinking even further ahead. He's thinking if Villa secure safety before Game Week 38, is there actually a risk Benteke to be rotated, rested for the FA Cup final? Big answer for me. Yes, there is.
In 38,
yeah. If Villa are already safe, why risk their star player? If Benteke is not fit, available for the FA Cup final, Villa have problems. If Benteke is, I would say Villa have a good chance of winning. I mean, that's how good they are with him.
To be safe, they've got to beat West Ham and they've got to win at Southampton, really, haven't they? Because even if they beat West Ham, I don't think they're going to be safe at that point.
Yeah, it's a big if.
It depends on the Southampton result.
If they're not safe, I would definitely get him in. But I think I have other fish to fry, so to speak, on for the double game week. But Game Week 38 punt, I'd be looking at the likes of Benteke, Lukaku. You know, these. We know that they can deliver. They're capable of getting strong scores. I would say, if people are getting in, great.
I've got a question for you then. The same with Arsenal then. Which do we think Giroud would be? I think we spoke about this last week. That we would think that maybe Giroud may get rested for Game Week 38. A fair chance. Depending on. And then it also depends. I mean, Welbeck's nursing an injury at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah, but it's not serious. He's come out and said that he's likely to. He's still a doubt for Swansea, but he says it's not serious. I can't see Giroud starting in Game.
I don't think.
He's certain to start the cup final, isn't he? So
I don't think Giroud is as essential to Arsenal as Benteke is to Villa. Without Benteke, Villa are nothing. But without Giroud, they could put Welbeck up there. With Arsenal, they've got Sanchez, Özil, Ramsey. They've got Wilshere sitting there on the bench. They've got so many attacking players. Yeah,
but I'm talking about a striker, and they've only really got.
Well, they could just put. I mean, they could. Yes, they could. They could play. They could play Welbeck for the. I mean, you would think Giroud would play the FA Cup final. You think there'd be a likelihood that Welbeck would play Game Week 38, but he might not. He might not at all. I mean, you just don't know.
I would say. The thing is, Giroud is so important to the way Arsenal play because they build around him. All right, against Hull, that didn't really demonstrate that, but
they just built around him.
I think. Yeah, I know, but I think he's absolutely certain to play the cup final, and because of that, I just don't see there's any way he will start in the game week 38.
Yeah, I must admit, with that rotate with game week 38, if I was be looking at a move and thinking that far in advance, Giroud out for whichever is the form striker with a good fixture, game week 38, which is a lottery anyway. But yeah, I'd be looking. That is a chance, and I think let's go for someone. Sorry Villa fans, but I hope it does go down to game week 38. I hope Benteke has to put a hat trick in order to keep them safe, because I'd be looking at him.
The other thing maybe to consider is how important it is for Arsenal to finish second, and what do they get out of that? They don't have to play the qualifier, do they? No. Is it the first two that don't have to play the qualifier, or is it the first three?
I mean, Wenger's been quoted today to say it is important and he's going for it, and so we've got to think that they're going to do it. But it doesn't matter, because they can win that game at the end of the season without Giroud quite easily. Whether they can also rest Sanchez and Ramsey, I'm not sure. But I mean, Sanchez and Ramsey are the next two on the transfers in, John. And I think the question a series of questions. We talked about Arsenal assets already, but there's some questions that maybe allows us to look at some other names as well.
Yeah, I'll go through some of our posters' names just now. Half Century, Henry, AZ, Sargent, and 1-2 as well. I've all asked broadly very similar questions around who do we think are the key Arsenal defenders, who do we think are the key Arsenal attacking players, and ultimately who do we think are the best three overall. Really, so Granville, presumably you'll be looking to get three Arsenal players for the double game week. Which three would you be looking at?
Well, I've now got the two transfers, so I'm gonna have to bring one in. I think this week. Mm-hmm. I think Giroud has got to be in, really, because he's as Martin's saying, is fundamental to the way that they actually play. So I think and he is generally on the end of things. It's probably a little bit of a blessing that he didn't do anything yesterday, and that he won't be quite as popular. So I think Giroud is a must. An Arsenal defender. I've already got Ospina, so I don't need to get another defender. And then it's just one of the midfielders, and take your pick. I think in terms of value, Ramsey's looking good at the minute, but whether he can. The thing is, the thing that worries me about Ramsey is his positioning. He can play. He plays wide, sometimes plays deep. And then there's the other thing with Wilshere as well, who's come back and may actually get starts, and who knows where Ramsey then plays. Ozil is one who looks like the best out of the lot of them, but he doesn't seem to be picking up the points now.
No, yeah, it's a bit of a lottery. Mark, what about you? Who are your kind of top three?
Well, I think I'm going to have to go for someone. I mean, Sanchez is someone I want. I think he'd be the top target. But other than that, I think I might take a risk on Ramsey or Welbeck, on Wilshere or Welbeck, because it depends what I can afford. I'll look to get Sanchez and then see what money I've got left. It might be that I have to go Ramsey and somebody else because I can't afford Sanchez. But Wilshere and Welbeck are intriguing options, because I think both of them are likely to start that last game week. And although it is all about the double, I think finding a player who's going to play both those games, Sunderland and United, is going to be tough anyway. I think it's impossible to call someone who's certain to get both those matches if you look at the squad that he's got. So if you think that it's a bit of a lottery to get someone who's going to play both matches, then you're looking at who's likely to play game week 38. And then you start thinking, well, Ramsey, Sanchez and Giroud are all in with a very high chance of being rotated. Certainly, you
already have Bellerin, is that right? You already have
Bellerin. So I can only get two. So I'll have to keep Bellerin because I'm not going to spend a transfer at the back. Bellerin won't play both matches in game week 37. He may not play game week 38 either.
The way I'm looking at that, I'm looking at three attackers. I'm just thinking, what the hell? End of the season, go for the exciting ones. I've already got Ramsey. I've already got Giroud. I can't ignore Sanchez. Sanchez looks like the one that's most likely to play both games, and he, as we saw last night, 2 goals there. So he's the one I'd feel most secure captaining and playing. So that would be my three. That's my aim, Sanchez, because I also think that the combination of Sanchez, Ramsey, and Giroud is not going to be well owned. There's not that each one will be well owned. But I think the percentage of managers, particularly in the top 10,000, who've got all three, it's going to be quite low. I run the risk of missing out on a potential clean sheets for Arsenal, but I can't. I mean, I think Granville's right getting Ospina. I think he's probably the only one who's going to play. So if we think Arsenal are going to get clean sheets, I think he's your man there. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I see the Sun says, do you see Monreal and Bellerin nailed on? Well, no, I don't, because they've got they've got Gibbs and Debussy who can come in. I mean, Debussy's got injured at the moment, but you kind of think that he's going to be fit.
And Chambers.
37. Yeah, and Chambers is there as well. So yeah, I just think all across the board, apart from Ospina, and even then Ospina, you think, well, will Szczesny get a warm-up match maybe against Sunderland? Could do. He could get that game just so he's not cold for the cup final. It's just so hard. It's such a hard call.
What's going to happen with that, by the way? Because hasn't Szczesny been playing the cup games?
Yeah, he'll play the final, definitely.
Yeah. So well, there you go. So Ospina is clear.
No, not at all. Because Wenger might think, well, I'm not going to throw Szczesny into the cup final cold. I'll play him against Sunderland at home, and then play Ospina game week 38. And then Szczesny, he may play Szczesny. This is
Mark playing mind games with himself.
No, because why would he not do that? Well, I just think there's a chance. You can't sit there and say to me, Ospina's 100% certain to play game week 37.
No players are 100% certain to play any game, but I think it's quite likely.
I think he's the most.
Yeah, I think he's the most likely. Yeah,
definitely.
But it also wouldn't surprise me to see Szczesny play against Sunderland at home, because what's the risk there? There is none. I
mean, looking at all the boards, there's one team we're not seeing much of there is Sunderland, who also have the double game week, and we have quite a few questions from the community about them. JK and Dusan Citizen as well are asking about Sunderland's assets. So we're all talking about which Arsenal players to get in. So they're broadly asking us, are we getting Sunderland players in? Which Sunderland players are we getting in? So I mean,
haven't we already got one? Have we not all got their PVA?
Only you two.
I've got Pantilimon, so I've already got one. So that's my Sunderland defence. Not that I like. He's he gets the save points, so I'm happy with that.
He's playing. You saw what happened with Harper last week.
No, I don't think they're still playing mind games with me on Sunderland goalkeepers. No, he's the
whole goalkeepers. Who'd have thought it?
He's more nailed on than a carpenter in church. He's so nailed on. I'm looking at other ones. So one of the questions, Dusan System particularly asked, Gomez or Larson. I'm going to add in Wickham to that as well. So let's
hold on, Monty. You're always back Larson, so you've got to back Larson regardless of what Gomez did.
Yeah, no, I still think if you're going to back.
That's just like Mark backed the army.
Yeah. No, he was injured. He never got a chance, did he? So,
I mean, I think all these players, you get what you pay for. So these are like 5 million or so players. So Wickham, you're not getting a top class striker, but you are getting a player that could get 2 goals during that double game week. Larson, you're getting a player that's on corners, puts some crosses in. So he could rack up a couple of assists or 2. Gomez, he's on penalties. Well, he got 2 last game week.
Yeah,
so
why not?
He got 15 points. So
did he score a hat trick? Was it last week he scored? Last season he sgored a hat trick
against Arsenal. He basically they came to Arsenal and he just completely destroyed them. Gomez is he has that potential, but so they've all. But once again, it's what you pay for. These are 5 million players who have the potential, small potential, to do exceptionally well, and that's what you're buying into. For me, I'll be looking at. I'm not sure who I'm going to dump. Basically, it depends who I dump. If I dump Ivanovic, I'll be looking at PVA and hoping he gets some assists and there's a clean sheet. If not, I might be looking at dumping another player, a midfielder, and I'd probably be looking at Larson or Gomez. I mean, just think, why not?
I think people will look at Larson and Gomez as enablers to free up funds for Sanchez. I don't think they're going to do it because they're on their shopping list. I think they do it because they're out of necessity. So
yeah, but I mean, you don't seem that keen on Sunderland's assets, Mark.
No, I just don't see it. I think the fixtures are just too tough. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see Wickham do it again. I think he's probably the best bet.
Yeah.
I can't see Gomez getting 2 penalties again, but it could lightning could strike twice. But yeah, I mean, Wickham's the only one I might be tempted by. We said this last week. I'm sure we'll be talking about it the next week and the week after because things change so quickly, and Gomez has suddenly come into the equation, and we didn't even consider him really. So yeah.
What are you guys doing about Kane? Are you happy to keep him at the end of the season?
That's the problem with Kane is he's so cheap. This is not like, oh, what am I going to do with that £11 million striker that I could just refurbish my side with? It's like, what am I going to do with that £6 million striker? Well, I need to sell someone else to get someone better than him. There isn't. I mean, yeah. There's Benteke. There's Lukaku. There's God, if Diego Costa comes back, which probably won't, but if he did, you've got all of these options, but they're too expensive. So at the moment, he stays put. He's got a good fixture in Gameweek 37, but I'm not going to be telling anyone that I think Kane is going to do well. I think he could even conceivably go the rest of the season without scoring, the way Spurs are playing at the moment.
They were terrible, weren't they? They were terrible against City.
Kane is in the transfers out. He's the 6th most sold player, which is it's just amazing to see him in there. But his form has just dropped so considerably, and the service he's getting. We've talked about it a few weeks now, but it's just not happening for him. But you don't get much for that trade, do you? And so looking further up transfers out, Sterling is top of them, 49,000, 8.5 million. That is obviously the make weight to get your Arsenal midfielders in. Yeah. Henderson as well, Fabregas 9.4. Hazard's not there, but I think there's a question for the community on Hazard, isn't there?
Well, there is. Well, Hazard is there, but he's quite way down. But he is there. There's 11,000 people have transferred him out. He's one of those. I mean, he's quite far down that top 10 really of transfers out. But we've got a couple of questions there. So Supersonic asks, is Hazard making way for Sanchez really an option? And going on from that, Nursed on the site, and also James Sparks contacts via Twitter to ask about rotation. Who's going to be rotated? He mentions Hazard there. So I think the question with Hazard, he's a very consistent player. If he plays, and presumably Chelsea have a bit more freedom now to attack, he's a good option. But I guess the decision people have to make, whether if they want to swap Hazard out, a good player, for another good player, it probably is minutes. Will Hazard get dropped, get rotated or rested for a game? Arguably, if you're managing a player's body like he's been over the last year or two, he's played a lot and he's been battered more than George Best, the way he's being attacked by defenders. It would seem sensible to rest him, but then again, Mourinho could just stick with the same side. You just don't know how he's going to play it. I mean, what do you think about it?
There's a couple of things, isn't there? We don't know who Mourinho's going to select. He has rested players previously, having won the title. But also is how are they playing? How are they going to play as a team? We've seen them recently just shut up shop at the back, get one goal in front, and try and preserve it. Are they now going to be more open? Are they going to be more attacking? It's just so difficult to call. I think, but Hazard and Fabregas, definitely. You've got to look up. If you can't afford, Sanchez, if you trade the Liverpool players out, then getting rid of Hazard has to be an option because he's got one less game.
I think we need to look at what's going to happen with Chelsea. Are they going to do, like, they've won the league now, so they can take what they're going to do? They're going to take the foot off the gas. Or they're just going to go, play with freedom and try and score loads of goals. So those are the first unknowns. Then you got a problem with rotation. Who's going to be playing? We probably need to look at when it comes to the medals. Do they all get medals, whether they play 1 or 10 games?
They have to get 5. It's 5 appearances. So I've looked at this, and everyone's
in. So there's no players. Are there any players on 3 or 4?
No, I think.
Who makes?
Yeah, Chalabar's on 4.
No, it's not starts either, so they could be subbed on 5 times. So all the fringe players are going to be fine. I think it's
and then there's the other achievements such as they've got 3 games left on, so they can get to 92 points. I guess there's no big achievement there, really. He's not going to beat any other record.
No, exactly.
There's what about number of goals now? Not really. I don't think there's that much more for them to achieve, other than just like a bit of pride. So I
looked at this. I looked at this in an article I wrote for the Premier League. Went out today, and I went back to the last time Mourinho won the title, and he won it with a 3-0 win against United at Stamford Bridge. In the following game, he made 8 changes.
Really?
He played a weakened team. Yeah, against Blackburn Rovers, and they lost 1-0. And they also lost 1-0 in the last game of the season. So the 2 games that he had left, having won the title, Chelsea lost them both. And he played. He made 8 changes in one and 6 in the other.
I think one of the other big questions is, if we do think he's rotating the players, isn't so much do we get rid of Hazard, it's do we keep the likes of Sterling, do we keep Coutinho, do we keep Henderson? Because if Chelsea are playing their second team, and obviously they're all still good players, but nevertheless, if they're potentially making 6, 7, 8 changes, that's going to be a team without the same balance. You know, are they going to be? This time next week, are there going to be some really disgruntled?
Listen, Johnson, Brighton could come to go to Anfield and still get a result the way Liverpool are playing. So I wouldn't worry too much about Chelsea against Liverpool. Actually, it's at Stamford Bridge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Stamford Bridge. Yeah.
So I just don't. I just think that Liverpool is just. Listen, I'm totally confident that United can hold on to the 5-point lead they've got over them without even needing to score, get another win. Just the way that Liverpool are playing at the minute, I think they were quite lucky really to get a result.
But I think Johnson's right. I think as a Coutinho owner, I'm looking and going, well, I'm going to get rid of Fabregas before I get rid of Coutinho.
Yeah.
Because I think that not only is Fabregas may not start, he probably will, but even if he does, he's not been that effective really. The most I'm going to lose is probably another assist, and Coutinho could just do anything in the form he's in. He could, especially with Chelsea a bit more relaxed and not likely to be, shoring things up at the back. Chelsea are going to attack against Liverpool a lot more than they have done in previous weeks, which isn't saying a lot because let's face it, they've just done enough to win matches.
I think there's loads those like I think yourself, Mark, and me who have Ivanovic and Hazard. So these are 2 pricey players that it'd be quite nice to use that money elsewhere, but. It's Ivanovic I worry about. Yes, he's been I suppose he's been curtailed a bit. His attacking intent, but how does Ivanovic perform at the beginning of seasons? He always goes crazy because Chelsea attack more then, and then when at the business end of the season they defend more. I just think if Ivanovic is playing, I'd be worried about getting rid of him. But I want to get rid of him though. I want someone to tell me, perhaps Granville, you can tell me that Ivanovic is going to do nothing. And he's just going to stay and defend, but I think he's...
You see my cat?
I know, I can see your cat.
Yes.
What do you think? Tell us about Ivanovic, Nigel.
You're like Bond villain.
Oh, yeah? We've lost you there, Granville.
Okay. It's the cat.
I was just asking Nigel. Yeah. He says, get rid of Ivanovic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you said that to me game week 4, though, didn't you? After he scored loads of points. So I'm not listening to you or your cat, Granville.
It's been annoying though, Ivanovic, because I got him with I was thinking all these attacking points, and the only thing that's materialised is that 1 assist, and I think he's had about 3 yellow cards in all that time, so he's cancelled out the assist, and John Terry scored the points, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Let's look at some scout leagues because the top of the scout league, FBL league, is still rumbling on, and Simon March, aka Dufflinks, he's still 25. Is it 25, 26 ahead? Every week we do this. I look at it and think that Dufflinks is someone's catching him up. The thing that's happening is it seems to be a different person every week, and every week they only get so close. And that gap is about 25 points, and it's happened again. Jeff Ryan, who's in the FFS, he's second in the FFS league, is up to 4th. He is 31 points behind. Then it's Jack Wayne, who's not in the FFS league, but he's going to be on the Scoutcast next week because we're talking to him. He almost made it this week. He's 3rd on 2238. Then it's Andrew Foskett, 2239, and then it's Simon, aka Dufflinks, top of the world, 2265. So 26 points ahead. He's managing to hold on. He had a bad game week, 57 points, and those behind him caught up. But nobody behind him can get a consistent run to actually overwhelm him at the moment, and it looks like he's going to hold on with the game weeks to go. But it's tense, so tense.
I noticed he got Giroud in on his wild card, so he had him to unleash.
Yeah, he held on to Giroud. He had him before the wild card,
and he's got, so he had him before, and he had him on the bench that double game week, ready to unleash him. Kept on to him, and as a Giroud owner, that fills me with hope, because basically, if I've got players that Simon March has got, I'm a happy man, because he can't do any wrong. He's just having one of those seasons that like every fantasy manager wishes they could have, where literally everything you do goes right, and it's definitely the case for him.
Well, I don't think he's doing things that well at the moment. I think he's just getting by. I think he's just doing enough every week, and he'll be. He hasn't strengthened the lead in any way. Even with the wild card, the gap is still 25, so he hasn't pulled away. And I just think he's been fortunate in that those behind him haven't put. No one's had two really good game weeks. It's always been out of the top 5. It's been the one in 5th does a sprint, and then he has a bad game week. Then the one in 3rd has a sprint.
The consistency, and I mean he got 57. That's not a bad game week. It's not a great game week. It's basically.
He came half of 529,000 in the world. Then obviously in his wild card he did very well, 89 points, and that's given him that buffer. But game week 32, 797,000. Game week 33, 299. Yeah, he's been fairly consistent. He's not slipped up. He's not had an awful game week. And so, I mean, good luck to you, Simon. Let's see if you can hold on. But as I say, we're going to talk to Jack Wayne next week, I believe, Jonty. So that's going to be interesting. Totally. He's 3rd overall, so I'm sure Simon will be listening to that to see if Jack gives anything away. But that'll be on next week. So Simon is top of the members league as well, ahead of Killian Long. He's 45 points ahead in the Scout members league. And then over in Ultimate, Damien Lindell is top of that, 2635. He's 4th in the world, 55 points behind. And then over in Sky, Jeff Pryor is top of the Scout league on 2246. Then I noticed Katie Bergen, a new entry on 2243, and she hasn't protected her team, so we can actually see her team. No. It's extraordinary. No one ever does that, let alone people who are actually ranked 5th in the world, because she's actually ranked 4th in the world. She's only 10 points behind the overall leader, and everyone can see her team. And oversight.
That's the way to do it.
It's confidence.
I'm kind of rooting for her now.
Yeah,
it's mind games. I think it's genius.
Remember when Ancelotti used to announce his team on the Friday?
Yeah.
We were like loving it, going, "Oh yeah, we know exactly what the team is going to play." I mean, I wish every manager would do that, but that's confidence for you.
Maybe Katie has got 10 transfers held back. She reveals her team, and then blocks it again the following week. Completely changes the team to fox everyone. And maybe, who knows? But
well, she had Ramsey Sanchez this week, which is why she's jumped by, and she captained Sanchez on Monday night. So that's where she's come from nowhere. But I was thinking of that. I think it's quite cunning. No one else is doing this. And everyone's going to look at her team around her in the top 5 and go, "Oh, what's she got?" And it might actually work for her if she's got transfers like Granville says. So intriguing tactic. Let's move to the weekend preview, Granville. I'm guessing with your late arrival and the distraction of your putty there, so to speak, that you haven't picked out the clean sheet. So Jonty was going to step in for you.
I've just done it whilst you've been talking.
Okay. Go
on. Man City at home to QPR, Chelsea at home to Liverpool, and Arsenal at home to Swansea. Those 3.
So Chelsea at home to Liverpool, you think that they're going to still be as secure at the back than they have been, do you?
It doesn't matter about Chelsea. Liverpool can't do anything up front.
You're just glorying in Liverpool.
I've got to keep with the theme of having to go at Liverpool. Basically, I am actually worried that they're going to pip us to 4th.
So are you going to QPR? I mean, even Man City QPR, we've been here before, haven't we, when QPR have shot Man City. So Man City's defence, you sure? They
did all right. They did all right the weekend against Spurs. I don't think they really gave Spurs that many chances. I think they were fairly solid. I know Spurs aren't up to much in the minute. QPR, I don't know. I think they're going to get a clean sheet. Where do you think the clean sheet is going to come? Everton home to Sunderland, maybe 1.
Yeah, I think Everton.
Yeah.
West Brom away to Newcastle.
What about Hull and Burnley? Are you not back in Harper?
Yeah.
No,
Hull
I'm playing
has
on
to be.
Spino to the end of the season, I think.
I can't see
Right.
Burnley scoring. But I think Villa against West Ham. I don't think West Ham have enough. I think Villa will get. I don't think West Brom will get a clean sheet this week because Papa Cisse is back for Newcastle.
Yeah.
Newcastle are in absolute disarray. Their defender was sent off, and their own manager said it was deliberate. I mean, that's just chaos. But Papa Cisse, as we know, just needs to come on as a sub or start, and he can score. And I think I'm not saying it's going to be a turnaround for Newcastle, but Newcastle need to do something. I think perhaps the last match was a watershed moment for them. I think playing wise, morale wise, I don't think it was possible to be at more rock bottom. So I think
Colaccini's come out and done an open letter today. I just think the script is written for Newcastle to react and get a result against West Brom.
I think you're probably right, actually. And West Brom, it'd be typical for West Brom to get a clean sheet at Old Trafford and then get beat to the worst form team in the league, Newcastle. Yeah. So I think you're right.
It's the perfect fixture for Newcastle because West Brom don't have a big threat up front. So they'll attack them, and I think that it'd be tense. I think that could be a 2-1 or 1-0. But I think you're right. I don't see a clean sheet there. Arsenal Swansea, I guess, is that the third one you've gone for, Granville?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Swansea lack of threat really.
Yeah, I think on paper that's a good clean sheet for Arsenal, but at the same time. Swansea are more than capable of nicking a goal. I can't see anything other than an Arsenal victory.
In any other week, Everton Sunderland would be the one though, because I think they've kept like 5 clean sheets and 6 at home. So but you just don't know with Sunderland, do you? They're so desperate for points.
It's really hard to predict that one. But I think Everton will bounce back. They've clearly made a big thing about tightening up the defence. They failed the last match. And I think they'll tighten up again. So I think that's a good bet. I think there's lots of potential this week.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get some more questions from the community to end on, Jonty, because we've got plenty to get through. So let's have 2 or 3 more.
Yeah, let's race through them. So this goes on from what we're saying about Newcastle. So Moyne asks relegation. Which 3 will go down? I think Burnley, QPR, and I don't think Newcastle. I literally cannot say who the other one would be. It could be Sunderland. I think Sunderland haven't done enough.
I think it'll be Hull.
Yeah, I do as well. I think Sunderland will get out of it. Yeah, I mean you've got to go obviously QPR and Burnley, but I just think it will be Hull. Yeah, I think Sunderland might just do it.
Could do.
It's out of those two. I can see Newcastle getting a result on Saturday and getting themselves out.
I think Newcastle will be safe.
Sunderland have the double game week. They've got the extra game.
Yeah, they have got a game in hand.
Thinking about a double game week, but
that's how they think about it.
I know it's against Arsenal, but they need more than I mean. It means a lot to them that game. I think they might just get out of it. And Leicester are probably playing too well to get. I think they'll get enough points. It looks like it.
Yeah.
Well, they're not. I mean, you look at the table; they're only 1 point ahead of Sunderland.
I would be very disappointed if Leicester go down because they've really, really surprised everyone. And a bit like Sunderland last season, they pulled out some astonishing performances when it mattered. Yeah. I think that should be rewarded with a place in the Premier League. They're playing like a Premier League side, which is great.
Even Pearson,
yeah. Well, he's not performing.
Yeah. Pearson, is he the most dislikable manager in the Premier League? He's got to be close, isn't it? Since Warnock.
I thought. What about Pardew? I thought you hated him.
Well, grown on me, Pardew, because he's transformed since he's been at Palace. He's playing decent football, and he's taken a bit of the credit. And I don't like Big Sam very much, but Pearson, he's just making a career out of being dislikable at the moment. It's amazing.
So yes, on to some more questions. So we've got we see one from Green Windmill, just to Granville. Not to us. It's with Mark and Jonty neck and neck in the live Hall of Fame. Just to explain, on Fantasy Football Scout, we have a Hall of Fame which charts the success of managers over the seasons, and they get ranked. And myself and Mark are roughly at the same point. But which of us two does Granville believe is the best fantasy manager? So, there you go.
Okay.
It's obvious, isn't it?
Out of us, yeah, it is. Out of us three, I'm definitely the best. But in second place between you two, let me see. I know who I kind of prefer, the style that I prefer.
Yeah, yeah.
I know.
I think that Mark is just a little bit more daring than you, John. But that's not to say that.
Careless, probably.
I would.
Yeah. But he has been like unbelievably boring this season, just like kind of grinding out a top 100 place wherever he is.
But
the thing is, I think Mark, he has been more daring, but Mark is definitely luckier than you. Yeah. And luckier than any player that I've ever seen in fantasy football.
Yeah. So it's nice.
Look at the points coming from his bench this season.
I think it's right to completely turn this question around and say who do you think is the jammiest manager?
Yeah. So I think Mark is the bravest. I think Mark's the jammiest.
I'm the dullest.
But I sort of admire your banality in that I could never be like that. So I sort of wish I could, so that I could actually get like a top 1,000 finish. There you go. I didn't really answer that question.
No, you got out of that one.
Well, I mean, on a similar thing, Apple Bonkers asked what Mark's changed this season. For those who don't know, Mark, be fair to say, last season you had an absolutely atrocious one, and this season you're having a fantastic one on the edge of the top 100. So, is there something that you particularly changed?
I had my worst season last season, and I'm probably going to have the best one this season since 2007, since I started playing. What have I done differently? I don't know. I think I played the wild card earlier. I think basically I've been able to admit errors quicker. And I think that's important. I think last year the big thing that let me down was I picked a team which was set up to play 5 in midfield, and I got Morales and I got Coutinho, and I didn't admit the error with that early enough. I went with a budget striker up front, and I was going to rotate. I had 2 budget strikers. One of which was Anelka, and I was going to rotate. And I had such belief in that tactic in pre-season that it took me about 10 weeks to actually admit I was wrong. And then by then, Ramsey had exploded, and I completely ignored him. Toure exploded, and I fooled myself that was a flash in the pan because he was getting free kicks and penalties, and I thought, well, that can't last. And it did. Ramsey, I thought as well. I thought, well, I had him, when I eventually played my wildcard, I had him in my wildcard, and I took him out last minute, and that was a disaster. So I think my biggest problem last season was I didn't admit my mistakes quick enough, whereas this year, I think I've reacted quicker to like trends, to form, and I think I've got in with those players early on. I've made right decisions though. It can be as simple as that. I've made more right decisions and got my initial lineup stronger. Even though last year I had an amazing first game week and it just went downhill from there. So I think that
make that much. You think it makes that much difference? I know you've mentioned a few things there, but you're like 180,000 last year, and now you're 100. I don't think all those mistakes that you just mentioned, they could make a difference to say 50,000 rank. But what about like the other 100,000? Do you think that's just luck? Do you think that's just down to bad luck last season or good luck this season? It's just
I think I made a mistake. I think it's a lot to do with the wild card, because the wild card, you play it early enough and get that right. And I think I played mine. I'm not sure what game week I played it in, but I put this season. Last year, I think I would have got Toure and Ramsey in early on, then I would have been much better off. But I think Toure and Ramsey were extreme players last year. They're kind of like, we didn't expect them to maintain that kind of form. And I suppose you can say that of Kane this year, but I got on Kane early because I kind of I'd seen him play in the Capital One Cup, and I'd seen, he was their leading scorer before he got in their Premier League lineup. So it was pretty obvious he was something a little bit special. But no one expected him to carry on like he has. But then, maybe he's showing it now that he's not finished up.
That brings on to another question from Jaffa Lad, who asks, is there an identifiable successful strategy in fantasy football? And for me, something you mentioned there, I think is hitting the nail on the head. It's simply reacting to trends, predicting trends, looking to see where those trends are and what the points potential are, moving with them. And as you said, last season, those that reacted to the Toure and Ramsey trend of basically a central midfielder bombing forward and scoring lots of goals when everyone expected them not to, those who got onto that, fine. This season, those that reacted to Kane quick and thought that this season would have been even more successful, those reacted to Kane and said, hang on a minute, he's only 5.5 million, but I'm going to captain him. I'm not going to captain this 11 million player. So that's another trend. And those that got onto that quick. And I think that is definitely the secret. And I think that's what Simon March has been doing all through. He's been looking at the trends. He's been looking at the fixtures, right? Who's looks like they're going to be performing well. Double game weeks are, in a way, for fantasy football managers, are easy because it's there on a plate. They've got 2 fixtures, so they're going to do well. It's. I think it's. I think you hit the nail on the head. So I think that would be my answer to that one. Got a few more questions here. How many have we got time for? We've got two or three more?
Couple more, I reckon.
Couple more. So I want to ask this one, actually. Apple Bonkers asked about Leighton Baines. It's something we haven't really mentioned. Leighton Baines no longer has penalties. He is, what is he? 7 million. I haven't even looked now. The fact that I haven't even looked.
He's 7-2, I think.
I've ceased to care about Leighton Baines. So what do we think? Is it the end of the road for one of our much loved sons, or are we gonna look at him next season if he's? I mean, presumably not 7 million, but 6 million.
6.
I wouldn't even get him for 6 myself.
I don't know. He's not on free kicks neither, and I don't know how many corners he's on. Unless Morales gets a transfer, which is possible, I mean, I don't think it doesn't sound like he's that well liked at the club. No. And he's a type of player who would be quite ambitious and want to move on. So that's kind of, there's that, and then there's the Lukaku thing. So he could actually still be on penalties. You never know. He should still be on penalties. I think it's a ridiculous situation.
I think if he wanted to be on penalties,
why was he taking off penalties?
I think he comes across as a nice guy. I think they've just said, someone said, I like to take penalties, and he's gone, yeah, whatever, I don't mind. He just doesn't. I think if he wanted to fight for them, because he's a good penalty taker, I think he has every case for. But he hasn't got that he hasn't got that Van Nistelrooy, Van Persie type kind of arrogance that a striker needs. But maybe he should have pushed it.
Or maybe
I think
Martinez should have put his foot down. I think Martinez has let that situation develop.
Yeah, I think it's got something to do with the fact they haven't had a goal scorer in form, and I suppose they're looking at penalties as a way of sparking Lukaku a run of goals. I mean, so I can see it does make sense that strikers take penalties because it breeds confidence in the strikers, and that's it. Yeah. So I can kind of see why they've done it. But the Morales taking that one that night against QPR, that was a complete mystery because Morales doesn't need any confidence, that's for sure. So yeah, But as for Leighton, I want him to be still on the radar next year. But I think if that's going to happen, he's going to have to be at least at 6 million, maybe even less for anyone to consider him. Because I think like Jagielka has outscored him now. And how did that happen? How did Jagielka become the sexy Everton defender? What's going on?
Good news.
It's not right.
We've got a final question. Talking of this is what's been your biggest mistake? So biggest one single mistake this season. I'll go first.
This season.
I've got mine. I know mine.
This season. Look, Remy. It's partly beyond my control, but Granville did say he has a history of injuries. I didn't listen. He got injured before he even kicked the ball in that double game week. And it was just a waste. It was a waste of points. I probably spent 4 to 8 points to get him and then get rid of him. He didn't even play. I mean, other players like Defoe was a bit of a mistake, but at least he played. At least he gets the odd assist. But Remy did nothing, so that's my one.
I mean, I got two actually, because you mentioned Remy. I got Scott Sinclair for the double game week in, was it 31?
Yeah.
Injured for both. So that was a bit of a mistake. And but the major mistake, and Mark probably tell you the same thing, was benching Harry Kane for that big game week.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most amount of points I've ever had on a bench from a single player. And it was like devastating, really. Especially since I was so close to playing him. It was between him and Sigurdsson, and I was conned by Sigurdsson scoring against Liverpool during the week, and I missed out on those points that he scored. I think he just scored a consolation goal as well, and that's why I played. I think the problem is because he's so cheap, Kane, and he'd only just started playing, and they were playing Chelsea as well. It was just one of those things that I was kind of so disappointed. But there you go. Go on, what's yours, Mark?
Yeah, that's got to be the one. I mean, I don't think, not since I played Miriachi and bench Dempsey, it's been a bigger disaster. So yeah, that was in that game. That was about 3 seasons ago. Bolton were playing Fulham, and so I had Miriachi, who was on loan from Arsenal, and I had Clint Dempsey, and I played Miriachi because I thought, well, he's at home, and I can't see Fulham scoring goals, because Fulham were not scoring goals away from home at that point. They'd scored 1 in about 5 away from home. So I played Miriachi and didn't play Dempsey, and Dempsey got a hat-trick, and it was painful to watch. And those feelings that I had in that game, that was on Sky Live as well, as was the Chelsea Spurs game, and I did the same thing. I played Sigurdsson. I had to watch while Kane absolutely dismantled Chelsea, and I was watching it thinking, he scored 1. I thought, oh, that's painful, but let's hope he leaves it at that. And I watched it, and I thought, he scored another, and I was going, where is this going to end? And you know when you get one of those where your rival's got one of those players, and you think, when is he going to stop? Is he going to get injured? Are they going to take him off? Please take him off. Just spare me another one. It just looked like it was going to go up. That was a horrible moment. I've made lots of other little mistakes, not getting my Hill in when Foster got injured, getting slipping and not getting Morgan off. I think Pearson trolled me there, but you know.
I just wanted to bring him on our YouTube. Trigger Lips, one of our regular visitors to the site, who does very well actually. He's a very good fantasy manager. He's saying that most of the examples we're giving now are only mistakes in hindsight, not genuine errors. And I think they are genuine errors. For me, with Remy, I didn't look at things like Liverpool not signing him because of his injury record. Granville telling me that very week he has a bad injury record, me ignoring that. You both benched Kane, and it's not an error in hindsight. The error was that this season's trend was to back the cheap strikers that do well. So for example, Kane. Now Kane is performing, as we know now. Well, not this moment, but around that time, he was performing like an £11 million striker. And an £11 million striker playing against Chelsea, you still play.
Yeah.
So I'm just disagreeing with Driggalips there. Is that we can look back on hindsight and go, yeah, I would have benched Kane, but the mistake we made was that we weren't trusting in the player and we were looking at the price, and so that is a common mistake that managers are still making.
Not just the price though. I think is inexperience and the fact that it was a big game. I know what Trigger Lips is saying, that all the things pointed to him not getting a hat trick against Chelsea, and I agree with that. But at the same time, we're kind of like swayed a little bit by other things like his price, like his experience, and we should have seen through that. Really, we should have seen. We should have looked.
The thing is, the ironic thing was that morning I went on the site and said, "Should I play Kane or Sigurdsson?" And I so rarely people tell me just go on the site and ask any advice, because obviously I shouldn't be on there going on my own site asking for advice on my own team. But I did that morning. I was so torn between Sigurdsson and Kane. And everyone said Sigurdsson, and I actually did favour Sigurdsson. I'm not blaming anyone. I made that decision off my own back. When I posted, I thought I'm going to play Sigurdsson, but let me just get it. Let's see if they feel the same, and they did. So that's the right decision. No, and you're right. It's the price tag, isn't it?
Trigger Lips has been back. telling me that if I listened to Granville every week, where would I be now? And he's quite right. He's quite right. But
I think
Triggerlips very right there.
Triggerlips would say that you should listen to him every week. I think he's that confident of his own abilities.
But
this could run a month where
this could run a month. But I just wanted to. I know that. I think no. I know that we wanted to find time. Mark, you wanted to mention your cup run at the moment. I noticed.
Oh yeah, embarrassingly, I'm in the quarter-final of the Fantasy Football Scout Cup.
And Ryan is as well. You're not facing Ryan.
All right. Wow.
So we've got 2 contributors in the quarterfinals of the Fantasy Football Scout Cup. Did we publish tonight the draw, Jonty? Do they people know what's going on?
It's being published tonight.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Ryan, another of our contributors and moderators on the site, is also through. You find yourself, you are now the top ranked manager left in the draw as well, Mark. So
I'm the one to beat. Yeah.
You're the one to beat. So we'll go that. But I just wanted to point out that Ryan beat the previous highest ranked manager last round. So you don't face him yet. So if you go through,
me and Ryan in the final. That'll be
Ryan's waiting.
Yeah, the giant killer.
Yeah.
No, well, thanks very much for plugging that. As my caption says, I'm preparing my cup final suit ready for that. So we'll see how that goes. I will say before we end the show, we didn't mention this at the top of the show, but we're gonna. It won't be a surprise to most people on the site that we're dedicating this Scoutcast to Absinthe, Simon Humber, aka Absinthe, who sadly lost his battle against cancer that he'd been battling for many years. He passed away only last week, and you would have seen many tributes on the site from many of the community members, a couple of posts that we made as well. Obviously very sad news. So this Scoutcast is dedicated to Simon, to Absinthe, in memory of him, and our thoughts go out to his family and friends. Obviously a very sad loss, and yeah, that was a very sobering times on the site last week. But so yes, our thoughts are with them. So sad to end on that note. But John, I mean, the community's reaction to that has been incredible, hasn't it?
Oh, it was incredible when it was announced. I got an email from a couple of people, and yeah, we read some heartbreaking stuff from his family about him. But since his passing, we've the outpouring on our website and other fantasy football blogs as well. But also, I noticed on the Portsmouth fans, Portsmouth itself, he was a Portsmouth fan. They had a piece on there saying very touching. His young son is always welcome at Fratton Park. He's very much still part of the Pompey family. So it shows what a great guy he was, in that there was all these communities around the world. He lived in Canada, was from here, and he had the communities there. He had the online communities, the fantasy football communities, his football, all of these, and he touched so many people's lives. And there's a great outpouring of grief and sympathy for his family. It was warming to see in such tragic news as well.
Yeah, well said, Johnson.
So on that note, it's good night for me.
Good night.
And good night for me.
Good night all.